I'm honored today to be at the foot of the bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, right here in Selma, Alabama, to get into some good trouble and to ask all of you to get into some good trouble by contacting your senators and your representatives to make sure that they too vote for the John Robert Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. Let us stand up for the rights of every American to have an equal right and equal access to the ballot box. It is not only right, it is just, and it is fair, and it is the American democratic way.
Hi again, everyone. It's 5 o'clock in the East. 1 week ahead of a vote in the House on federal voting rights legislation, Alabama Congresswoman Terri Sewell is making the urgent case that the right to vote is under attack and only federal legislation can save it. Sewell introduced the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, H.R. 4, and on Tuesday, and Speaker Pelosi said it will go before the House for a vote when lawmakers return from recess next week. H.R. 4 restores aspects of the Voting Rights Act of 1965 that have been struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court, including the provision that requires states with a history of discrimination to go through a pre-clearance review prior to making any changes to their election practices. Now, without that oversight, state legislatures are not limited in terms of what they can pass. And now, fueled by the big lie, we are seeing a veritable wildfire of restrictive measures under consideration in legislatures across this country. Already, 18 states have enacted 30 laws this year that will make it harder for Americans to vote. The antidote to all those measures, federal legislation, which Congressman Colin Allred of Texas emphasizes in a new op-ed in Democracy Docket, writing this, quote, "Today we find ourselves at an inflection point once more. We are faced with a very clear choice. The federal government can once again intervene and set national standards to protect our democracy, or we can enter a new era of anti-democratic darkness. As we saw last month in the Brnovich ruling, we cannot count on the courts to defend the right to vote. It will be legislation, not litigation, that ensures our democracy is strong and that our federal elections in 2022 and beyond are free and fair. The need for action from the federal government no clearer than in Georgia, a state which has been a major target of the former president's ire as he still continues to spread lies and delusions about the election result. On that infamous call with Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, the former guy mentioned Fulton County more than a dozen times, making false allegations like this.
But in Fulton, where they dumped ballots, you will find that you have many that aren't even signed, and you have many that are forgeries, okay? You know that. You know that. You have no doubt about that. And you will be at 11,779 within minutes because Fulton County is totally corrupt.
He was obsessed with Fulton County. None of that was true. But now that county, which, surprise, surprise, went heavily for now President Joe Biden, is facing an alarming and aggressive move by Republicans to gain control over its elections. New York Times reports this, quote, "The Georgia State Election Board on Wednesday appointed a majority Republican panel to review the performance of the Fulton County Board of Elections, another step toward a potential Republican takeover of the election system in the biggest Democratic county in the state. The three-person panel will include 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat. Democrats across the state have denounced the push for a performance review there, noting that there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud last year and that the election results were affirmed by 3 recounts and audits. Democrats view the request as a political stunt at best, and at worst, a partisan takeover in the most consequential county for the party in Georgia. The GOP's assault on our right to vote not slowing down is where we start this hour with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Eddie Glaude is here. He's the chair of the Department of African American Studies at Princeton University, and lucky for us, an MSNBC contributor. Also joining us, my friend Matt Dowd, political strategist and founder of Country Over Party, and Nick Corsinides here, a domestic correspondent for the New York Times. Nick, you first wrote about this process, this sort of multi-step, seemingly bureaucratic process for Republicans to take over elections in Fulton County. It's now underway. Explain.
So this dates back to the signing of SB 202, the big election overhaul bill in Georgia that introduced a host of restrictions and notably had a lot of different elements that kind of altered the governance of elections in Georgia. And one of the things that was in there was it allowed the state elections board, which they also restructured in this bill, and the legislature, which is controlled by Republicans, now has more control over that state elections board. And what it allows them to do is basically create a review panel once it's been requested by legislators from that county of a county's elections board. So there were two Republican senators and a couple Republican House members from Georgia who requested to the state elections board that they investigate and start a review panel of Fulton County. And that brings us to yesterday. So once they sent that in, the state elections board is required by this new law to basically establish this panel. And they chose, unsurprisingly, a Republican majority panel. Now, they have an undetermined amount of time. This could take months. This could even bleed into next year to, quote unquote, investigate what went on and what has been, there have been some issues in Fulton County. In the June primary, there were long lines, but there hasn't been any issues with accuracy, which is what a lot of the big lie and some Republican proponents of this bill have pointed to. They were, affirmed multiple times by audits. So what they can do is they will keep going through this process of reviewing it. And then once they're done, they can recommend to even temporarily suspend this election board in Fulton County and institute a superintendent. And that superintendent would be picked by the state election board, who, again, as we said earlier, the Republican legislature has much more control over. Now, this is an extended process. It's going to take a while, and there's going to be a lot of small steps, but we'll want to pay attention to each step just to see how it's progressing.
And I didn't play Raffensperger's response, but Raffensperger makes the points that you make, Nick, that there were 3 audits / recounts in the state, and there was no systematic or widespread fraud found. And those audits were credible and thorough and accepted by Democrats and Republicans in the state. So my question is, what are they looking for?
Well, it's an open question. I mean, they're apparently going to investigate everything from the actual credible issues that have come up in Fulton County in the past, which is, there's been problems with training for staff and machines have malfunctioned or been in locations where the electricity became an issue, all sorts of kind of election day snafus that can then lead to a kind of major line problem or long hour waits or anything like that we saw in the June primary. And then they'll also be looking for, again, this non-existent fraud that we hear so many times in so many different states that is continuing to kind of stay alive in the Republican base because of what former President Trump keeps saying is, main argument has just been about the 2020 election. So in theory, they will be looking for both of those. And since there was no fraud in the Georgia election, as was affirmed by multiple audits, they won't necessarily find it. But as they go through this process, it'll be interesting to see how they come across reporting that.